Hey everyone, me, Kevin here with a stimulus check, stimulus package, and money update for you for June 12th. It's Friday, so I'm a little bit more casual, and yeah, I got a pink straw in my coffee. But I'm gonna go ahead and start out with stimulus-related information, and then a new version of a stimulus proposal, and then stay to the end to get a warning regarding something crazy happening at a specific company that has to do with stocks and something you want to be aware of. So remember, this video in the meantime is sponsored by life insurance. So if you need life insurance, link down below. It's what Lauren and I have, and it was surprisingly cheap when I went to sign up. It took like 2 minutes to get a quote, and you could sign up in as little as 5 minutes. All right, first things first, let's start with this. We know that Senator Portman wants a back-to-work bonus of $300 to $450 per week. We haven't heard many updates on this. You know, some of us are wondering, what about the people who have already gone back to work? And this disadvantages those who not only went back to work, but what about those who are not even working because they're on disability or they're retired? And we haven't really gotten much clarity on that. Well, now Kevin Brady, a Republican senator from Texas, has introduced a bill called the Reopening America by Supporting Workers and Businesses Act. A bill would give you 2 weeks of unemployment after you went back to work, basically giving you the $1,200. Now, it's not clear if that would give you state unemployment and a federal boost of $600, but right now it seems like if something like that were passed, if you're on unemployment right now, you'd basically just keep it for an extra 2 weeks after you go back to work. No mention of helping people who already went back to work, which kind of seems like a little bit of a punishment to the people who already went back to work. This bill would also let employers report you if you didn't come back to work. It would make it a lot easier for employers to do that. All right, well, let's move on now to Steve Mnuchin. We've already heard Steve Mnuchin say yes to more stimulus. We're just not sure exactly what, but something that he emphasized today was a concern over how high unemployment is. This actually seems to be one of the chief concerns of not only Steve Mnuchin, but also the president and Kevin Hassett and other economic advisors related to the White House. We're also hearing the Senate talk about unemployment. And so I'm maintaining my belief that we're going to see that next round of $1,200 stimulus checks. Now, for states like Florida and Texas, we're definitely hearing about them more, especially because these are pretty hot states. I can say that because I used to live in Florida, and I mean, let's be real, it does get hot in Florida and Texas and a little bit humid in the summer, which is interesting because the Department of Homeland Security said that this coronavirus does not survive very long in hot climates. And so it is interesting to see an uptick or an uptrend, at least in cases in those regions, which I want to pull this up and show you. You know, I personally am not really seeing this as a massive, this is, to me, isn't necessarily spiking. To me, this seems like an uptrend, but I don't want to come across as just mincing words. But yeah, I mean, this uptrend could, in theory, just be because of either testing or look at these weird drops. In economics, when you have these weird drops like that, sometimes it's because something happens on these days where people aren't actually getting tested. Like, who knows? Maybe they only run the results on these days, and the people running the results are taking days off work because it's not very smooth. And I think if you smooth this out, you wouldn't necessarily see those crazy spikes. You know, why is it that on one day you have 638 cases, and then the very next day, here on the 9th, you have 1,600, and the next day you have 2,500, and then it goes back down to 1,800. It almost feels a little bit like testing irregularities, but we'll see. We want to keep an eye on this, certainly. I will say, though, every time I talk about these stats, I kind of get the urge to go wash my hands and just be doubly sure because, you know, if you brought in an Amazon box, you might have something lingering on your hands, but I guess it's not really a problem as long as you don't touch your face. Anyway, I went through my notes from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell and his talk on Monday, and we already know that he wants more stimulus, but I picked up on this line that I wrote down. He said, if there were more fiscal support, you'd see better results sooner. Which to me is like this perfect thing to say to a politician. Hey, you want to feel better about the economy? More fiscal support, that's your job. And this is particularly interesting because we obviously know the whole stimulus debate is politically charged, politically motivated. We've talked about this for weeks, that it seems like this whole stimulus plan is being perfectly designed to take effect right before the election. We've been mentioning that for weeks. And this is interesting as well because we know that Donald Trump and Larry Kudlow kind of get in a bad mood when the market's down. Like when the market's down, both of them lash out at Jerome Powell. people, both of them, Donald Trump on Twitter and Larry Kudlow go like on Fox and lash out at him. And so it's interesting to see this is kind of Jerome Powell's way of almost lashing back. Hey, if you guys want better results, get off your bums and start doing something sooner rather than this wait and see stuff. It's hilarious, this kind of infighting. But while it's hilarious to look at that, it's also at the same time for us, like at their level, looking at it, it's just ridiculous. But at our level, it's very frustrating, right? Because we're the ones that are now the victims of this ridiculousness happening, this sort of indirect insulting of each other. Anyway, Kevin Hassett was asked this morning, again, do you think the economy needs another stimulus bill? And this time he said, absolutely 100% there will be another stimulus bill of some shape. Those were the exact words he used. And then, of course, he talks about the liftoff and liability protections and things that we've heard of before, which I do think the rocket ship analogy isn't bad. You know, rockets take a lot of energy to lift off, which to me, another reason like, all right, let's get that stimulus moving. Now, interestingly, there has also been a lot of talk about businesses coming back to maybe dip into the PPP loan coffers again, like maybe apply for a second PPP loan. And this is partially because $130 billion are still available in the PPP fund and nobody's really applying anymore. It kind of seems like the businesses who were going to apply did apply, but that original loan was only for 8 weeks. Now they've extended it for 24 weeks, but the loan's still based on 8 weeks. So you have 24 weeks to spend 8 weeks worth of money. If they open this up and said, hey, does anybody need more outside of those 8 weeks, so you can cover more payroll within that 24-week period, come and apply back, that money would be gone pretty fast. That would be an interesting stimulus as well. Unless, of course, Nikola Motors gets the stimulus again, which if you are interested in investing in Nikola Motors, the stock, make sure to watch my complete breakdown on hydrogen cars, especially the last 10 minutes. I go really deep on the future of hydrogen car technology. So if you're even remotely interested in hydrogen cars, check out that video. It's a good one. Now, speaking of unused money, if you haven't gotten your 2 free stocks with Webull yet, they're waiting for you. You know, all you have to do is click Webull in the link down below, and then it takes you to this little portal where you deposit $100, and boom, you get 2 free stocks. It takes like a week and a half to get them, but you get 2 free stocks up to $1,400. I think most people probably get somewhere between $20 to $200 in total. I haven't seen somebody go super high up, but I mean, hey, $20 to $200, and you get started with, something where you can actually buy some stocks in, even after hours, which I love because I'm recording this at 3:13 p.m. on a Friday. The market's closed, but if I wanted to go in here and pick up some more shares of, let's say Dave & Buster's because it's below my target price, let's just go buy some shares right now. How much do we want to buy right now? There we go. Let's do this together. Buy that. And we got to do it after hours. Hold on. Extended hours. I always forget to press that box. There we go. Buy. All right, perfect. We just bought 113 shares. See how easy Webull makes it? Look at that, after hours. And it's 3:14 p.m. in California, which means the market's been closed for almost 2 hours. All right, moving on. Something else that we want to consider here is also known as the possibility of a blue sweep coming this election. That means if Democrats win the House, Senate, and presidency, remember that the odds of stimulus are probably going to be higher. We'll probably see more stimulus plans coming from them to make sure the economy, stays strong and really that rocket stays strong, so to speak. But the odds of taxation on capital gains and things like stocks and real estate will also likely be higher. So there's a chance the stock market might kind of pull back. The higher the odds of a blue sweep are. That is, the more likely it is that Democrats take over, the more likely it is we'll see some softness in stocks. Now, Mitch McConnell is facing a lot of heat in Kentucky for his seat. One Democrat is running for his seat, and his name is Charles Booker. Charles Booker has endorsements from 2 of the largest newspapers in Kentucky. He also has endorsements, obviously, from Bernie Sanders, mostly because Booker is one of the people who currently serves as a representative in the House of Representatives, and he is a big supporter of the $2,000 per month stimulus plan, suspending debt payments, mortgage forbearance for landlords, which we already have some of those things, right? But also suspending rent, which we don't actually have suspending rent yet. So that's interesting, something to pay attention to. Something else, here are some quick economic data notes. Household net worth fell by 5.6% in the first quarter of the year. This is obviously mostly due to stocks, and I think a lot of that has already rebounded. rebounded. And here's another one that I actually think is more important. Consumer sentiment was expected to go up to a reading of 75, up from 72.3 for the previous 4 weeks. And in the last 2 weeks, ending June 10th, consumer sentiment actually went up to almost 80, up to 78.9. So this is a good growth sign for consumer sentiment. And for the last thing, stocks. Take a look at this crazy thing that's happening. And even if you don't like stocks, you're gonna find this very interesting. We know that the rental car company Hertz is in bankruptcy. Well, apparently the judge is allowing Hertz to sell or issue and sell up to $1 billion in extra shares, even though the attorneys for Hertz know there's a good chance the value of that stock is going to zero. And the judge is basically saying, hey, well, if people know there's a chance it's gonna go to zero, let's just sell a bunch of shares, have a bunch of people buy these shares because for some crazy reason, people are still buying the Hertz shares. And if it goes to zero, then that's just less money that Hertz has to worry about during bankruptcy because they basically get that money for free. I mean, this literally seems like legalized stealing. It's like you're stealing the money and you're giving it to Hertz to help them with their bankruptcy. That seems very odd that the SEC is okay with that, but it is happening. Very, very bizarre. So personally, I'd kind of recommend staying away from Hertz stock. It's an interesting one to kind of watch from the sidelines. And remember, if you want to stay on the sidelines, make sure to download Webull, get your life insurance lined up, and then you'll be ready to join in on some real investment opportunities. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching. Check out the programs in the link down below, including the course on financial literacy, which is very important these days, and of course, real estate investing. If you're looking for a real estate video, I did post a complete hoarder house before and after video this morning, so check that out as well. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you soon.